Tupelo, and once more the intense August heat ushers in the fans, enjoying their visit to Elvis's instantly recognizable birthplace. They are well chaperoned by the vigilant Tupelo police, who are here both to show the city's respect and appreciation for the fans, and also to make very sure that nothing amiss should occur to their visitors. The day down here is always enjoyed by all who come, and every year without fail, a large number of these devoted people brave the 90 degrees plus temperatures of the Mississippi heartland. Generally not as commercial as Memphis, Tupelo does its very best to ensure the safety and comfort of its visitors. The chapel is the coolest place in town. Can you see Elvis? Outside, the free supplies of Coke and Dr. Pepper do not go unappreciated by the dehydrated visitors, most of whom never experience temperatures and humidity like this at home. But they are here without fail. Anniversary years and special events may swell the numbers, but most will come down here regardless of the occasion. Elvis people, amongst whose number I am proud to include myself, are without doubt the most loyal and devoted of any known fans. We don't come because we have to, we come because we want to. Perhaps half the visitors are from overseas, but the American fans also drive vast distances to be here. To take just two examples, I have friends who drive from New York and Canada every year. Take a look at the map of the States and see just how far that is. America is vast. Everyone likes Tupelo, it's relaxed and friendly. Most fans like to add to their collections with at least one Elvis souvenir, including my assistant Julie, who has incidentally written 10 pages of places for us to try and find and then film. But here even the traffic signs are fun. This Elvis site is pleasant and it's relatively easy to film. We've included the interior of the house in many other of my films, but there are other Elvis sites here that many fans have never seen or are not sure how to find. We want to concentrate on those, so that you too can more easily locate these places. The British Club is off on their tour of the city, but we are staying behind to obtain footage of the places they will not be seeing. If you drive from the house back to the main road, which is in fact Main Street, and then turn left, remembering to drive on the right-hand side of the road, of course, after going up a rise and proceeding a few hundred yards, you will find Feemster Lake Road on your left, which runs parallel to the road to the birthplace. Here you will find Priceville Cemetery, where most of the Presleys were buried. This is somewhere not usually on tour bus itineraries, but I feel it is of great interest to fans. With a hired car, in fact, it's only 5 minutes from the birthplace. Well, here we are. This is the legendary Priceville Cemetery. It's about 2 miles from the birthplace. As you can probably see, it's quite big. It's bigger than I'd been led to expect. But whether we're going to find the grave of Jesse Garon, I really don't know. I don't think so. So we're going to have a wander through. We will be able to find you some Presley graves. Jesse Garon is meant to be buried here somewhere, presumably in the same area as all the other Presleys. However, the grave has always been unmarked. There is also some controversy as to whether he is actually here. I have even been told that he was buried with a short service quite close to the birthplace, in the wooded area near there. It seems a shoebox may have been used for the coffin, wherever he was finally laid to rest. The weather on that January day was cold and wet, and neither Gladys or Vernon, who had a bad cold, actually attended. We must remember that most people who lived in the old Saltillo Road, as the birthplace area was then called, were not well off, as the depression still continued in this part of the country. Nowadays, people who still survive do not like being reminded of those uncomfortable days, and why should they? So it's difficult to research the absolute truth. Obviously, money for a headstone was quite out of the question, and later on, after Elvis was famous, it was felt that marking the spot might not be wise. Billy Smith claims that Jesse is in fact buried in another cemetery out towards Saltillo. Back near the centre of town, it is still easy to find evidence of the Depression days in Tupelo. Much of it still seems to be on the wrong side of the tracks. If Elvis were here now, and regrettably he is definitely not, he would have great difficulty recognising the area he was born in. But obviously not everywhere has changed since 1935. Some, like the buildings you're about to see, are still just there, but in a very bad state and situated in a less than ideal area. The main object of my trip each year is to try and put onto video these fast disappearing sites. Each year it seems that more and more pieces of the puzzle have gone, and they become harder and often more dangerous to find and film. We managed to film places that you may not have seen before, including several Elvis sites that are very much safer when experienced on this video. This was the Tupelo garment factory, where Gladys worked as a sewing machine operator from December 1932 until the birth of Elvis. The wages were poor, $2 a day, the hours were long, and the labour was hard. It's Main Street down in that direction. This is South Green Street. And down here is Bluebell Alley. Her work was on the second and third stories. The factory is situated 2 blocks south of Main Street along Green Street, in an area then known as Milltown. You are facing towards this when you have the entrance of Tupelo Hardware behind you. The building is situated between Bluebell Alley and the railway tracks. Talking of trains, the sirens you can hear are quite genuine, they've not been added later. Not far away is Maple Street, where Gladys and Elvis lived with Frank and Leona Richards while Vernon was serving a sentence in Parchman Penitentiary. That's Tupelo Garment Factory there, and here, Maple Street. This house is still lived in. If you look hard, you can see the current owner lying out on the porch. The correct address is 510.5 Maple Street, and this one is in a fairly safe area. My job is a cameraman stroke editor for a well-known broadcasting corporation, working mainly on the news, so I'm fairly used to situations where you have to be careful. Filming this video required as much caution as anywhere else, and regarding the sites where I express concerns over safety, I trust you will do the same. Just off Main Street is Commerce Street and an abandoned shopping mall. Opinions vary as to the exact site, but another Presley home was definitely located here. Those are the gates to the fairground, and panning back to Commerce Street shows their relationship to the site of the house. Most of their lives the Presleys always seem to have worked and lived in a very compact area. Now there we have Leek and Goodlet. That is the lumber yard where Vernon used to work. As you can probably see, this firm is not now in business. Here's another shot of Leek and Goodlet where Vernon worked, the lumber yard. This is taken from Commerce Street, right in front of where they used to live. Vernon earned $18 a week here when released from Parchman in 1939. Now, if I pull back, that's Long's Cleaners, where Vernon also used to work. And over to the right, that's Commerce Street again. So you can get your bearings. That's the entrance to the fairground. That building there is Long's Cleaners. That's where Vernon used to work. And over here, that's Tupelo Hardware over there, see? This is the old entrance to the fairgrounds. And up there, that is Mulberry Alley, where the Presleys used to live. We pan round the other way. That abandoned shopping mall over there, that's Commerce Street on the right. That's also a house they lived in. Mulberry Alley also goes down there. And if I go through here, that's the fairground, which of course is all shut up now. Rather a shame. The stands are in fact still here, but we've covered the fairgrounds lots of times before. And although I did in fact refilm them this time, there's no room in the final edit to include them. This is Mulberry Alley. Now I've been told Elvis's house was on the left here, somewhere down towards where that car is on the right of the picture. But of course it's a parking lot now, so you can get your bearings. Mulberry Alley again. It's a lubrious area, this. Entrance to the fairground on your right. Mulberry Alley again down there. We've been through those gates quite a lot of times, but I don't think we're going to get through them today. Running parallel with Main Street is Mulberry Alley. And Elvis's house was on the right, where one of those cars are now. Tupelo Hardware. Main Street. And the fairground is in the background. Mulberry Alley can be a bit dubious, so don't come here alone. Definitely a lot more dubious is the area around Elvis's house at 1010 North Green Street. I think this is definitely a camera out of the car window job, especially on Saturday evening, which this is. The house is very much still there, in pink and black. This is on the edge of what was Shake Rag, which is now gone. It consisted mainly of wooden shacks, and a tornado many years ago demolished most of it. Incidentally, Shake Rag was not near the birthplace, but was actually very much near a town to the north of Main Street. The new Tupelo Coliseum is now situated where it started, with North Green Street being the eastern boundary. Back in central Tupelo, this is Milam Junior High, Elvis's second school from 1946 to 1948. There's the Tupelo Water Tower over there. As we zoom back, pan right a little, that's the side entrance to Lawhorn School. Sounding like a name from Loving You, Lawhorn School still has many Elvis links. Travelling west out of Tupelo on Main Street about a mile and a half, you turn right onto Lake Street, which means you are then heading south. And this is something you don't see every time. This is actually the back of Lawhorn School. Now this is a new sign. This wasn't here when Elvis was here, of course. Now this building to the left of the main entrance, that's the building where the auditorium is, where Elvis appeared. And down here on the end, that's where Elvis had his 5th grade classroom, on the other side.
Right in the corner of this room right up here. Been remodeled since then, but you can go through those doors in that far corner on the right. That was where his 5th grade class was.
The helpful caretaker has opened up the school for me on his day off, and it's quite a thrill to be in the room where Elvis had his first lessons. In 1992, when the school was remodelled, some of the walls bordering the corridor were removed, but you can still see what it was like. Elvis's class was down the end of this room. We're looking back towards the central corridor here. And this is the classroom. They've knocked the walls down, but this is where Elvis was. I'll follow you down.
First show was on stage.
Let's just have a little look.
Those seats, I suppose, were in there when he had his first show.
It's a big school, isn't it?
Oh, it's about 550 students.
This is the auditorium where Elvis sang from the stage, encouraged by his teacher Mrs. Oleta Grimes, the daughter of Orville Bean. Orville Bean was the landlord who lent Vernon the money to construct the birthplace, later repossessing it. I think most fans know the tale. Vernon and Gladys's brother Travis Smith altered a cheque that Bean had written them for $4. No one is quite sure whether they altered the amount to $14 or $40, but as Bean wanted to teach Vernon a lesson, he would not drop the charges, with the result that they went to the feared Parchman prison farm from June the 1st, 1938 to February the 6th, 1939. This part of the school is very much as it was. Now this is probably the piano they used. It looks pretty ancient.
That's Mrs. Grimes, and that's Becky with her.
That's Becky with Mrs. Grimes there.
Uh-huh.
Oh yes, there's Becky, I recognise it. Yeah. Mrs. Grimes is included in an Elvis display, along with Elvis's classmate Becky Martin, who still lives close to the school. A photo of a young Mrs. Grimes catches my eye. That's Mrs. Grimes, is it?
That's Mrs. Grimes.
She looks a bit different there. Mrs. Grimes is now dead, but Becky is a fount of information regarding Elvis's early days in East Tupelo. She retains a great affection and loyalty for her old classmate, and after knowing each other for many years, she trusts me enough to let me film her Elvis room.
Yeah, that's the 60s. Then this is the 50s. And on the last one, of course, it's got down here on the bottom where he died. He let me have one copy, and I let him have a copy of this.
Well, that's interesting, Jesse's testimony.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesse, he's in Priceville, is he? We've been up there today.
Yes, yes. But it's an unmarked grave.
That was a copy of Jesse Garron's death certificate, while this is a very rare photograph of Gladys's funeral. Becky, of course, knew Gladys. Like most fans, she has Elvis memorabilia that decorates the room, which she likes to share. But Becky has personal photos and mementos of Elvis that most fans don't have.
This is the contest at the fair in 1945. And this is Shirley Jones Gillentine. She won first place. And this is Nubbin Payne that won second place. And this is an unknown person. We can't remember him, but this is Elvis. He didn't win anything. And then this is Elvis when he was about 15 years old. This was at the original old church where he attended church. With his father is in this picture, and all the press is Miss Annie Presley. And this is made over on, I guess it was made on Adams Street, where his neighbor, this is Elvis, his neighbor's Guy Harris and Junior Harris, Laverne Farrah, and I can't remember the other girl's name. Okay. This is later. Anyway, this is the mild scooter picture.
Yes.
This is Mississippi Slim's brother, James Osmond, and this is Elvis here. Okay. Then this is his second girlfriend, Magdalene Morgan. I don't have a picture of his first girlfriend. Her name was Eloise Bedford Sanford. Then that's President Nixon and Elvis.
Yes.
Then this was made in Memphis right after he got popular. This was made in church, where Elvis went to church at first, and then after he got popular, he couldn't go to church because it would cause such a commotion. And that's his relative, that was made in Grayson. That's Corinne Tate.
Ah, yes.
Okay, let's see.
It's a lovely display, Becky. We're proud of it, yeah.
Of course, this is his graduation picture, and then this picture was before he dyed his hair good and got his teeth fixed. And these were made in some of his movies. And these were made out in California.
Yes. Well, this is a great room. This is your bedroom, is it?
Yeah, no, this is the Elvis room. My room is over here.
This is Mississippi Slim, a big influence on Elvis, who encouraged him as a young boy. So, you got that today?
Yeah,
And they made you an honorary member of
of the
Decatur.
Georgia.
We take the opportunity to pick Becky's brains over our filming schedule, as she will know exactly where to find what we want to find. She clears up the confusion over the First Assembly of God Church. What I had previously been led to believe was the church is in fact one of the houses that Elvis used to live in.
The First Assembly of God Church, that's not the original church at the present site. But where the church is over there, like the church is here, then there's a street here. You take a right, and it's about the third house on the left. They made a house, and it's on the left at the third house, and it's got a big motor home backed up in there. It usually does, and that's the original church.
This is Berry Street, looking peaceful in the evening light, with the chapel directly behind me. The original wooden church and the brick one which replaced it both still exist. They are at the bottom of this street, where it is intersected by Adams, with the newer building on the left. Now, this is not the church that Elvis went to, but it is on the site. The actual church has been moved and still exists, and we're going to see it. The chapel was 206. To make things even more confusing, all the buildings in this rectangle of 6 streets have been renumbered. Now, this is the church bus for the church that's there now, but the church that Elvis worshipped in is still here, and that's here. The church is the building on the right. 909 Berry Street is the actual First Assembly of God church that Elvis and his parents worshipped in. It is surprising that it still exists, but it does, and this is it. It is now a private home. This is the church they worshipped in, which has been moved, and one house away is where they lived for a little while. They seem to have moved in with numerous relatives in several houses throughout this very small area. They lived here in 1944. You will again see that the original number of this house, 905, is now being altered to 1280. Kelly Street runs between Berry Street and the main road, parallel to both. In 1942, they lived in another house, which was between the current numbers 910 and 918. The house is now gone, but the site is at the rear of a shop which faces onto the main street. This is the main street that you can see past the yellow car, and the house was on the right. And this is Kelly Street again. Further down the street, travelling away from the birthplace, you turn right onto Adams Street. Directly on the corner facing you is the house which was the Smith family home, the home of Gladys's parents. When she and Vernon were first married in 1933, they lived here with the rest of her family. This is number 201 Adams, with the street running parallel to Elvis Presley Drive, completing the lower half of the community rectangle. If you continue down Adams, you come to Reese Street, which leads back up to the birthplace when you turn right. As you go back up to Tupelo's major tourist attraction, on the left is number 911. You will see that once again renumbering is taking place. Heaven knows how the postman manages, let alone a poor Elvis fan trying to find clues from over 60 years ago. This is the house that many people thought was the original chapel, but it's not. They lived here in 1941, the year Elvis started at Lawhon School. This modern chapel is the one opposite the house and the birthplace, and the natives are friendly. Now the fans have left, perhaps to have a longer look at their new Elvis goodies, it's wonderfully peaceful here. It's also worth staying to enjoy the view at night. Just listen to those cicadas.